3,
Is it like a time delay?
1. What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here the Spear, presented to you by NoahGameDay.com. We are back. We are back. Spring football is back, and it feels really, really good. We had a break last week, spring break. I won't comment on what I did on my vacation, nor what the Steelers did before I got on my vacation. But what matters the most is that spring football is back. We've got a scrimmage on Saturday. And then we've got one of Florida State's best spring practices actually just happened just a few hours ago. Mike Norvell really, really happy after what he saw this Thursday evening.
Year 3.
Yep. One of the biggest spring, if not his biggest camps at his tenure at Florida State, a big spring for him. So with me this evening is Austin Veazey, lead basketball writer up there, connected with a few former Noles I saw today on the Twitter. And then we got Nate Greer, lead recruiting insider down below. And then Dustin Lewis, lead writer and editor, bottom right. Gentlemen, it's good to see you, kind of. You know, had a little break there. It was nice. Reset the shockers since Christmas time. And now we're back for which is going to be a fun next couple of months. We've got definitely a busy month ahead. How are we doing?
Doing great. First thing I want you to do, Logan, is pull your Instagram up, and I want everyone to see that Titanic shirt that you were wearing. Because I haven't really seen anything like that before. Where did you even purchase?
That was Etsy. Etsy's coming in clutch.
We probably purchased at the same place you saw that Titanic DVD from when I was in Tallahassee for the spring game.
I just saw that, and I don't know why. It made me laugh, but
yeah,
Good shirt.
I had to wear that. It was perfect for the cruise too. And Titanic is actually my favorite movie of all time. I've watched it over 20 times. But yeah, I had to go with the Titanic vibes. My favorite. Beyond, like, if any close friends know me, that's my favorite movie. I've watched it actually like 20 plus times. It's a little obsessive, but had a good
Titanic
time.
would be that explains a lot.
Him and Austin watch it together.
We won't.
Don't say together. Do not say together. Do not say together.
Oh,
that explains a lot.
It was just you two.
Sure.
No.
Late at night.
It's not watching. No.
Well,
After
anyways,
adult beverages.
So how hard did you cry when Jack died?
Well, I don't know, like 6 or 7 tears, and then I just kept on looking at Rose, and she saved me.
Like
I grew up a lot watching that movie because you get, they paint a little bit there, and that's when I was watching when I was young, and I grew up a lot then. Anyways, people don't want to know about that, but yeah, everybody have a good break.
I don't know why you're calling it a break. You're the only one that had one.
We worked all week.
The rest of us were working.
Finally, out of 2 years, I finally get a trip. This man, Austin, has been to every country concert, probably.
Okay. I was still working. Like,
oh, man.
I worked like 83 hours last week, dude.
Jesus. Well, I'm proud of y'all.
I was 60 plus.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. But yeah, let's get started.
That's how it should be.
We got a lot to talk about this evening.
Let's go.
Let's get started. So as always, listen to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Hit the subscribe button. We've seen a big, massive growth on there. I don't know what's going on, but appreciate everybody listening on the podcast platform and everybody in the comments right now. Everybody is here, so appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Let's start off with number one. What everybody kind of wants to talk about is Florida State's veteran defensive back Jarvis Brownlee entering the transfer portal officially this morning. What hadn't been seen at practices for a little while. And, we see some tweets and IG messages and posts and all this kind of stuff left and right from Brownlee's side. But Florida State loses a starter from last year into the transfer portal. How do you guys think this affects the room? And
it doesn't affect the room. He was going to get passed up this year anyways. That's how I feel. He should have entered the portal after the Jacksonville State game.
Wow.
That's just how I kind of feel about it.
Kind of feel. Just
Seriously,
something light there.
I mean, he's had his good moments and his bad. I just think that the way it went down, you don't need that kind of turd BS in the locker room when you're trying to turn the program around, Good luck somewhere else. Go get your NIL, whatever it is that you want. Good luck to you. But, you made a fool of yourself.
Yeah, it's a tough loss, but there are plenty of younger players in the room that are ready to step into his role and potentially be even more productive. But at the same time, you're losing a guy who was maybe the most experienced cornerback that you have coming back in 2022. But hopefully Kevin Knowles, Amarian Cooper, guys like that can just step up and begin to assert themselves even more with his loss.
Yeah, I
So-
don't know if it's a tough loss. I mean, because we've talked about a lot how he wasn't great down the field as a cover corner, but he was great in run support. So, especially with what we've heard the last month or so about him not really being around the team, kind of being cancerous in the locker room. It's whatever. Just get out of here.
Yeah, I just feel that with the development of Amarian Cooper and then with Kevin Knowles, and then for me personally, just like it was just said, he's more of a nickel kind of guy, and I think there's better options, and I feel that he was going to get passed up anyways.
Yeah, no, he had a lot of experience, and he made plays definitely in that run game defense. He'd make some big-time plays at good times and third down and make some tackles for losses, and it's weird. And I think Coach Norvell has a close connection with him, and that was a player that he really had to stay close with in order for things to be right. We saw him at tour of duty, and he looked good. Looked 100%, and things were working right. And from what I was told from a source, it wasn't NIL related. This was strictly something inside the program that was working on for a couple of weeks now. And you see that Jarvis Brownlee enters the transfer portal. But like you guys are mentioning, I think there's a lot of optimism. There might not be a ton of college game experience or a lot of reps or plays, but there is some depth there that Florida State's able to work with. I mean, you're seeing Amarian Cooper make plays, Kevin Knowles. Those two last year were highlights from the season. And then you're starting to see some other guys, which we'll talk about when we get into some of these spring practice observations. Demore Tate, you've got Greedy Vance coming in now from Louisville that's making plays. There's optimism there. This is a loss for sure, but you can think ahead and feel pretty good at least.
For me, there's a loss in the, I do like his mentality, that dog mentality. I do like that, but Florida State's simply got to get better down the field in coverage, like Austin was kind of saying, and I don't think that he's a guy long term to help out FSU. So for me, I think that you lose experience, but it's addition by subtraction.
And culture-wise, I mean, you can't have guys that aren't fully bought in. And I mean, you could tell with not only his absence from the team, but with kind of how things were going on social media. He wasn't bought in, and that's something that Florida State simply can't afford to have right now going into Mike Norvell's third season.
Yeah, Mike has big-time emphasis on locker room and culture there, and you're seeing that a change with recruiting. Definitely you and Nate are seeing that with recruiting, and then also in transfers coming in and bringing in good guys that bring a good attitude and are fully bought into Mike Norvell's message. And so any kind of interruptions with that, it doesn't work out. We saw that when Mike Norvell right off the bat with some of the veterans like Marvin Wilson, Tamarion Terry, they kind of went through it. That was not a pretty start, but then, things developed and, you still got Marvin Wilson coming back for practices. We saw him at the start of spring. So you're seeing, that's just not going to work in the locker room under Mike Norvell. And, I think we all agree here on the show, that's how it should be. So Mike Norvell wished him the best of luck after practice today. And that was kind of it. So best of luck to Brownlee in his next endeavor, wherever that is.
I wouldn't expect Coach Norvell to really go too much further than that, He's very guarded when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As he should be.
Let's talk here some spring practice. I mean, I was sending the group chat earlier and I was probably sounding a little dramatic, but today was probably the best practice we've seen out of spring camp. A couple reporters were asking, was this maybe your best practice ever as a college coach? And Mike said, we're not going to go too far, but this was a really, really good day and put a smile on Mike Norvell's face. And you could tell from the competitive energy, guys battling, making plays. It's one of those practices where guys are making plays left and right, and that just kind of trickles down to offensive linemen, defensive linemen. You've got linebackers stuffing the run. It just starts clicking all around. And whenever you have that kind of practice, those are the best. And Mike Norvell really, really happy with what he saw today. And I think number one, the guy to talk about first is going to have to be Micah Pittman. I don't know what happened with him, and I don't think Mike Norvell did either. But, he made some splash plays and just 7-on-7 and 1-on-1s. But then when it got down to first team versus first team, they were going second team versus second team. Micah Pittman getting thrown in there, and he made 2 leaping grabs for touchdowns today. Was all over the field, but made crazy contested catches, and hat tip off to him. He kind of had a little bit of a slower start to spring, but Mike Norvell was really happy to talk about him after practice. And man, oh man, what a day from Pittman. What are we smiling about, Dustin?
I was just looking at the comments.
Oh. But yeah, Oregon transfer wide receiver had a day, and that's a really good thing to see, because we were hearing about Johnny Wilson, who also had a solid day. You got to see Malik Mclean, who had multiple catches for touchdowns from Jordan Travis. Absolute stud with these wide receiver room. And you look at too, Jordan Travis connecting with these guys, and I think the chemistry is already built there with McLean. But Jordan Travis, was kind of on his A game with some beautiful throws to McLean and Ontario Wilson. And, you saw defensive players like Jared Verse coming in for sacks. You had Steven Diggs Jr. coming in to stuff the run. I think you had an interception from Sam McCall. You had 2 interceptions from Shaheem Brown today, who obviously had a really big spring last year. Starting to see him click in also. And like I said, you've got transfers like Johnny Wilson, who is getting back into a groove after a fantastic start. Things kind of slowed down, but now is, I think he caught back-to-back passes for 15-yard gains today. He's a threat, man. I mean, I don't know really where to start, but Micah Pittman, Johnny Wilson, Malik Mclean, hello.
It's needed. I'll shout out, Steve. I retweeted one of his retweets about, just when you look at the talent that's been added to the roster at wide receiver, just the amount of guys who were offered numerous, Power 5 Division I offers versus what FSU had and what's left on the roster from Coach Norvell. When he got there, there's definitely a talent increase. And we've talked about it till we're blue in the face about how, Florida State needs better playmakers out wide. And, for these guys to start to really put it together, that does bode well for that room. Because whether, the guys have been there, like it or not, these guys are brought in for a reason. So, it's increased the competitiveness. The practice I was there, granted it was the first one, but, Wilson was making great catches. From what I understand, he's been pretty good throughout spring so far. So, that's made him focus more. So if anything, it's going to uplift that room. But it's great to hear that, those guys are putting it together because this offense needs it.
Yeah, and by all accounts, Johnny Wilson has maybe been the most impressive wide receiver on the roster thus far. I mean, at Logan, I think that's something that you can echo. And at the same time, it's good to see Micah Pittman get a little bit more footing, come out and have a great day today. I wasn't out there, but I'm hearing it from you. So hopefully you're not lying to me. And Malik Mclean as well. He's a guy returning on the roster that we think is still going to be able to assert himself in the rotation, maybe even a starter, despite the talent that Florida State is bringing in from the transfer portal. So it's good to hear the positive signs from them. And then especially about Jordan Travis, because, really this is his spring. He's the guy. And to hear that he's stepping up, continuing to make developments, becoming better as a passer, more comfortable in the pocket. Really, when I was out there, it just seems like he's so comfortable in the offense. He's talking with guys beforehand about plays, letting them know where they should be, how he's going to throw the football, certain things like that. So just him coming along as a leader has been another step that has impressed me. And now who's going to step up behind him and become the backup quarterback? Because we've seen some signs from AJ. We've seen some signs from Tate Rodemaker. Who's going to step up? I think there's still, 9 more spring practices for that to slowly begin to get figured out.
Yeah, this is a big spring scrimmage on Saturday. It will be closed to media, so we won't be able to be there and give y'all, analysis on that. But this quarterback, which I want to get to in a second, but I forgot to mention Johnny Wilson had another wild catch down the middle. Dude hanging. So it was pass interference. The shirt was being held, and he was dragging the DB with him. Leaping catch in the air and caught it and brought it down. I think Mike Norvell hauled 20 yards to him, and then Coach Atkins from the other side of the IPF ran 50 yards to go celebrate with Johnny Wilson. Incredible acrobatic catch by the tall wide receiver. He really is becoming a threat. And, I talked about it on the Mark Rogers show last night. You're losing Winston Wright Jr., which we haven't really commented on yet, but you lose him for, whatever estimated time. Mike Norvell didn't really give us an answer on what that looks like. I think there's still things for him, for Winston Wright just getting better and after a really brutal car wreck. So wishing him the best and his family. But you lose Winston Wright Jr., who's a guy that's stepping up, and that's been Johnny Wilson. I mean, I don't think anybody in this group right now on the show was expecting him to emerge like this, like he has, and to be a threat in midfield. We knew he'd probably be a threat in the red zone. This has been a huge, big time grab for Florida State and that transfer portal. And this is something Mike Norvell continues to do. He knows what talent to grab in that transfer portal and develop them well.
Yeah, he's been more of a complete guy than I expected.
Yeah. Complete. Yeah, you saw him in person, Nate. The speed, how big he is, but how he's got some muscle. I thought when I saw him in person, I thought I'd see, a skinny guy, tall, kind of like Greg Carrish a little bit, but he's got some
I was
meat
surprised with how flexible, he's not, not stiff by any means. And, the way that he can, he's a big guy that can run really sharp routes. I was really surprised by it.
I want to comment,
please.
I do want to comment. I do want to comment too on Greedy Vance, who had a slower start to spring and has really turned into becoming a guy that's made plays left and right with multiple interceptions last couple of practices. And, we talked about Brownlee Jr. being gone now, entering the transfer portal, and Greedy Vance stepping up here, getting a lot of burn on the ones, in that first little period there where the media is allowed to share video. You see Greedy Vance in there playing with the ones, and had a slower start to spring, but is starting to click, making plays, doing well in contested coverage, and almost being kind of locked down at sometimes where, quarterbacks aren't able to throw his way. And so Malik Mclean did have some good reps.
Best way to put it, Logan, is that Greedy Vance is one of those guys that when the pads come on, you see what kind of player he is.
He's a gnat. He's annoying.
Maybe shorts may not be the best thing for him, but the pads come on. I didn't like what I saw first practice. I'll be honest with you, but like you just said, the word is that his progressively gotten more acclimated and better. So it's good to hear.
Yeah, no, that's a really good sign coming from Greedy Vance there. I want to mention too, and we're not going to go too far into this, but it is most certainly worth noting. I thought Demore Tate had his best day, probably as an FSU player, at least the practices that we've been able to view, his best practice. By far, definitely spring. Didn't get to see a lot of them during fall practices, but this spring and this practice alone on Thursday was his best. He made one fantastic play in the end zone on a red zone throw from the quarterback. It was a really great route ran by the wide receiver, Darren Williamson and Brownlee going at it. Both guys battled great, and Demore Tate came away with the PBU leaping and ripping the ball out while leaping to cause the incompletion. And Mike Norvell and the rest of the staff, Coach Woodson, ran over to him and absolutely loved it. And you're starting to see a rhythm from 31. And Nate, you've harped on it a ton, but this is what you wanted. You want to see him click, but you want to see this. You want to see this consistently play out. But 31. Not saying anything too far yet. Nothing too far yet.
Yeah. He's healthy, in the right mindset. That goes a long way for, You know, it's a can be a little bit of a, I'm not gonna say the effort, but a mind F. You know, it can mess with your mind when you go from being a blue chip top flight recruit and, you know, not having a smooth transition over to the next level, which he hasn't. He's been injured, you know, has some confidence issues, and that's starting to come around for him. And, you know, I've said all along that, you know, Travis Jay and DeMaury Tater, two of the most talented guys in that secondary. And, you know, they just need one of those guys to put it together. You know, if both can, great, but, you know, it seems like Tate's really, you're starting to hear his name a lot more. And that's great for the defense.
Yeah, it's good to see little signs of growth from him. You know, obviously being one of the most talented players in the country a couple of years ago. Like you said, Nate, he's had it tough, you know, because COVID knocked out his first spring. Then last year he was on the Cardall spring. You know, he was out with that leg injury. So this is really his first time to have a true set of spring practices, to get this growth time, extra time with the coaches prior to the fall. I think it's only going to benefit him. And just, he could very well, because, you know, he's a really talented guy. He could very well end up being a big surprise for Florida State moving forward if he can continue to assert himself and stay healthy.
Yep, exactly. And he's getting a lot of opportunities. I will say that. We can't say depth stuff, you know, that's against the rules for media, but he's getting a lot of good opportunities. And that's really what he needs. And like you said, Nate, getting that experience and more of that might clean off some of the things that some of that rust or whatever is going on mental wise might break that off for him. And I know a lot of FSU fans think very highly of him.
There aren't very many defensive backs that, you know, on the hoof that look as good as he does. You know, he's very well put together.
Yeah,
he's got everything you want. So it's good to hear that, you know, it's not just one practice that he's putting together back to back to back practices, that it's starting to become a routine thing for him.
Yep. I want to mention too, and we had him on the show just a few weeks ago, and that's Desean Ward today. Scored a few touchdowns. I wish I could take video so badly. I really wish I could.
King of the Spring is back.
The King of the Spring is definitely here, and he's here to stay. But I can't get in too particular of what happened. But let's just say a dump off to Desean Ward, and then a linebacker, an open field, and skates. We went roller skating for a little bit there.
1-2.
We went roller skating, and Desean Ward put it in for 6. I mean, it was a catch over the shoulder. He had already locked in on the linebacker. He got a glance while he was catching the ball, turned around and juked, and it was nasty. I think one of the videographers from FSU got the video, so hopefully they'll be able to share that soon. That was like one of those where the whole, you know, no matter if you're media, if you're a recruit or a family member watching that was like, okay, hold up. That's just what Desean Ward does. 8-ball, man. That was disgusting. But yeah, Desean Ward, and I thought the running backs on Tuesday had their best day. Just kind of going over the last 2 practices, Daughtry Richardson, you know, for a highlight guy or a highlight from the spring from a freshman, it's got to be Daughtry Richardson right now for me. Just because of the battles that he's going through one-on-ones. He's winning those reps. He's very, very hard to push back. It says he's 285 on the roster. He's definitely 300 or more. He looks good. He's got a nice punt.
So.
He's kind of thin.
I don't think so.
I think he is. He talked to us in the media interviews, newcomer interviews, and he said he was going to be about 300 by the end of spring. So I think he's there. And if
it's not the end of spring, though.
Trust me. I'm there. I know. And plus, I'm the expert, too, on weight, guys gaining weight, who's losing weight, who looks good, who doesn't look good. And my analysis is usually on par. So Daughtry Richardson nearing 300 pounds, put it on the headline right now. But, yeah, Daughtry Richardson has looked good along with Bless Harris. And, you know, not a true freshman coming in, but at least offensive line-wise, he's looked really good. Those 2 offensive linemen, I think, have stood out the most, maybe. And I think there's still a true battle between the center position between Maurice Smith and Caden Lyles. I don't think that's a wrap up yet. The scrimmage will probably be huge for them. But yeah, Daughtry Richardson has been someone fun to watch. Not expecting a lot out of him this upcoming season. No, but for him as an early enrollee making plays, he's got some fight to him too. I will say that.
Yeah, anything that you can get out of a true freshman early enrollee offensive lineman in his first couple spring practices is great, in my opinion, because just it takes so long for those guys, at least the majority of guys coming in as true freshman offensive linemen, to reshape their bodies, to get up to that ability to battle with guys who have been in college weight rooms for 3, 4, 5 years. It's tough to do. So it's encouraging to see some early signs out of him.
This was just a really good practice overall. I've got a few notes on here. Jakai Douglas made another crazy catch on the sideline. It was funny. Mike Norvell came over to us. I think Jeff Cameron was over here next to me, and he said, "Hey, y'all can write about Jakai Douglas being good." So I thought that was pretty funny. He likes Douglas, and he talked about him after the practice today about how deadly he can be, a deep threat, anywhere threat, and he's making grabs. He's not the tallest guy, and Norvell mentioned that, but he can really leap and make these grabs. And so this wide receiver room, man, I don't know who's going to be pushed out. At this point, I don't really know. I might have a one name, maybe two names, but it's guys are clicking. These veterans are competing. These transfers are making plays. Pittman, we already talked about Johnny Wilson. Deuce, is still developing, as a wide receiver, but has a threat with how lengthy he is. This wide receiver room is a true big time battle, and we expected that with the corner position on the defensive side of the ball. But this scrimmage it's going to be interesting. We'll hear from the coaches and the assistants afterwards. It's around 12:30 on Saturday, so we'll get a little bit more of a feel on it. But the scrimmage will be pretty big for some of these players, definitely. Some of them getting a lot of reps with the ones. Some guys that last year were getting reps with the threes, they're getting reps with the ones. We got to see a lot of that today with some of these players getting in and getting some opportunities that I had never seen before, but maybe they'd never even had too. I want to mention Jared Verse. He talked to us after the practice and said I think a reporter asked about, the spring practice or spring scrimmage and if he's excited for it. And he said, "Yep, it's all about depth chart for me." And that's all I need to hear. I know y'all have not named him yet or expected him to be a starter after spring on the defensive end, but that's all I needed to hear. Let me just, I can't show the picture. I don't have it up yet.
I need to see
big dude.
I need to see the foot race between Verse and Jordan Travis.
I was going to mention that just right now. I forgot to text y'all it, but Holton, one of our new writers at Noel Game Day, Jordan Travis had to escape the pocket and was running down the sideline. And then I took like a glance because I wasn't fully watching it. I was like, who is that? Who's that big guy running with Jordan Travis down the sideline? And Jared Verse is like not fully running, and he's like kind of cushioning him into the sideline. He doesn't want to touch him. He doesn't want to get in trouble. But Holton's like, what in the hell is going on here? Jared Verse can fly. I'm like, yeah, he went toe-to-toe with Jordan Travis there. I don't think Jordan Travis fully speed. No, I don't think he's fully taking it on full speed, but Jared Verse has been a menace everywhere. Run game, pass rush. He looks the part by far. That's a big guy, but I'm expecting a lot out of Jared Verse for the rest of the spring camp, and I think he's going to have a pretty good scrimmage.
Yeah, it looks like Florida State's going to have 5 guys at defensive end. You're not going to you're losing Jermaine, who's just shot up the draft boards for a reason, but it looks like they're going to have Briggs and McClendon and Verse and Peyton and Fuller. So they're going to have 5 guys that can do a lot. Byron Turner, who no one's really talked about yet, who's had a solid spring. So you're looking at a solid 3 deep. Possibly as spring comes to an end here in a few weeks. So. It's good to hear for the defense that they, have guys that you're going to have a drop in production just from the sheer talent standpoint, but you're going to have guys that can still produce.
Yeah, there's going to be some potential off of that edge. Like you said, Nate, it's not going to be as standout as it was a year ago with the pass rush, but I think you're going to have more depth because you kind of struggled with the guys behind Jermaine Johnson and behind Keir Thomas a season ago. Like you said, now you have 5, maybe 6 guys that can all step in there in different scenarios and be quality options for Florida State off the edge.
Someone wake up Austin. He's had his eyes closed and he just yawned. We got to wake him up. But the jerseys
I asked him why he showed up to this podcast. I thought basketball season was over.
Austin likes football.
Listen, man, I do. I'm tired.
Austin likes football.
I'm just tired.
He's just tired.
But Austin also wants to be part of the, the realigning of the stars of
No, I do not.
Basketball taking a step back and football getting back to where it needs to be. So
it's been a conversation.
It's
been a conversation group chat all week after Coach Semrau stepped down from women's basketball. It's been a conversation. I'm not vibing with it. I'm just not.
You're just having to deal with it. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's just going to continue that way.
Well, we'll get there. We'll talk about it
after one rough season of basketball.
Some things are out of your control. Just let it happen.
Some things are out of your control.
Let it get back to a balanced universe. Let it get back there.
And also, a lot of times, it looks like my eyes are closed. I'm actually watching the Gonzaga game, like down here.
Yes, I'm watching it too. And
so if I may be looking down and watching the game, that's part of it.
True. We haven't really mentioned 35's name, and we get to see him taking first team reps in the first bit of practice, which we can talk about. But 35. Not too shabby either. I've been just adding that into that pass rush. I don't think he's worth not mentioning. He's looked pretty solid too. So like going back to that pass rush, that's at least a good thing about you. You lose Jermaine Johnson, you lose Keir, which Keir was at practice today. Looks good. He's definitely slimmed down a little bit too. But you lose Keir and Jermaine. But if Warner's able to come in, you've got McLean and you've got Burse. You've got some of these other guys like Fuller. You got a lot of optimism. I'm muting Nate because we're talking about Gonzaga basketball while spring football is going on. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it.
It's March.
Ew. I didn't even know basketball was going on. Someone put in the comments if you've never mind.
It's easy to forget about Leonard Warner since he didn't play last season, but who knows? He could be a sneaky option for Florida State if he bounces back well from that injury. And Logan, I think you've said it, but he's had a couple of impressive flashes during spring practice. And obviously he's a guy that's played a lot of snaps at the college level, something that Florida State doesn't really have coming off of that defensive end room right now. So we'll see. It could be intriguing.
Who hasn't flashed is Miss Trubisky. But we'll talk about that at some point. And trust me, I'm a Bears fan.
You were off topic.
You know what? I thought I was going to see Jameis. I thought like whenever I was on my cruise, I was going to be like on an island and I was going to get a notification as be Jameis' Steelers. And I thought I was just going to get trashed. Like someone would have to get me back on the ship. But that turned the complete opposite where I was just drinking myself away from the thoughts of having Mitchell Trubisky and a jersey and black and gold. It's depressing. It's depressing.
We're gonna have a bet this year where you're gonna wear a Mr. Trubisky jersey sometime this year.
We have a Malik Willis shirt, so
I will say, it's good to see that 35 is making some plays, but if Florida State has to depend on him long term, that does not bode well for the defense. That
likely I don't.
That means there's been a massive injury that no, we don't want to go there.
Luckily they don't.
Is 35 the White Wilkes of the football team? Is that what I'm hearing?
Whoa. I was giving some love to Warner,
No, I'm just saying.
No, because Warner was actually, a high profile recruit.
That's fair.
Out of Georgia. So
Wilkes was a borderline 4-star, if I remember right. Borderline.
He was almost top 100.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So. I just wanted to mention the quarterback room too. I think Jordan Travis is that's your starting guy. He's looked good. I think he's levels ahead of the quarterbacks behind him. And I think it is really a true battle between Duffy and Rodemaker. I think Duffy's still learning on getting his reads down, dealing with the pressure is one of the things that he's working on a lot. And, Norvell is really close with him and Tokar's on developing him and understanding, do you need to move out of the pocket? Do you stay still? What reads are you missing? That's something Duffy's still learning on, but you're seeing some plays like we saw on Tuesday where he threw a 50-yard rope down to Deuce Spann for a touchdown, or would have been a touchdown. But, that was a fantastic throw by Duffy. And you're seeing signs of that. And that's what you want to see from an early enrollee freshman quarterback. That's what Mike Norvell talked about today. And we heard from Duffy saying, I can't wait to be in Doak on Saturday. This is actually going to be his first time, he said, with cleats on inside Doak. So he's really looking forward to competing. But I think, Rodemaker has it.
Stop. That's what I was just saying.
Rodemaker?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to kind of bring up here. I wanted to bring up the Rodemaker thing because I'm seeing a little too much posted in different places, and I'm not gonna. Seeing a little too much.
Everyone needs to stop. The defense. So the offense needs Duffy to take that second spot.
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen that way, and Travis gets hurt, I'm not saying that Duffy, he's a freshman and he's going to play like a freshman at times, and he's done so in spring practice. But I don't know where this stuff about Tate Rodemaker's coming out, and that's no knock on him. But I'm just saying that people need to just step back a little bit and relax on that one.
Yeah.
He's a great practice arm.
Go ahead, Dustin.
I was saying, just sticking with Duffy, only 6 practices in with his first spring at Florida State. Coming from the high school level to the college level, I think the biggest step up is probably taking in a college offense. It's going to take him some time to get down all the schemes, the calls, the checks, the different audibles, everything that Florida State wants to do. And from what I've seen so far, it really seems like Mike Norvell and Coach Tokar's, they're approaching him from a learning standpoint. They're spending a lot of time talking to him about the little details and just how to go about certain things, like you were kind of talking about a little bit, Logan. So it's going to be huge, and it's going to come down to Duffy or Rodemaker. Obviously, I think Duffy has more potential than Rodemaker, but at the same time, Tate was impressive during tour of duty. He's had some flashes during the first couple of spring practices, and it's going to be interesting to kind of watch how it plays out, because this is a big spring. This is a big spring for Tate Rodemaker's future at Florida State. If he gets passed up by AJ Duffy, does he look to stick around at Florida State as a potential backup throughout his career, or does he look to transfer? That's a question as well.
Yeah, you've seen flashes from Rodemaker every spring camp, every fall camp, and that's great. And you're seeing some signs of growth there. But, the whole thing of boom, huge day, at least from the practices I'm not seeing that. I'm not going to crush other people's opinions, but at least from mine, I'm not seeing that. I don't know if I'm at different practices than other people are. I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I've drank a little bit too much on the cruise before coming back this week. But, strides are being taken. There's just still a lot of work to be done, and I'll keep it at that. Anything else, gentlemen? Anything else from practice? Anything that y'all heard or anything? I guess y'all
you're the one that's at practice. So
yeah, I was about to say, go screw yourselves.
Let us know if you got something you want to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about, one thing that we do need to talk about, and the chat wants us to give our reaction, and is that new badass FSU locker room that was unveiled over this past weekend. Florida State players came back from spring break and were unveiled and shown the new FSU locker room. And wow, hello, Michael Alford. Let's get some things done. Why don't we? And I think Florida State fans are liking their new AD just a tad. And I think the players are too. How do y'all feel about those new lockers, man? We got some videos from James Coleman. He sent us a few. He went and visited them on Tuesday. They're big lockers too. I know some of the pictures it doesn't seem that way, but there's some big lockers. They can fit Joshua Farmer. They can fit Robert Cooper, maybe not Robert Cooper, but they can fit, Farmer in there. But yeah, how do y'all think about those locker rooms, man? Those are pretty badass.
I thought it was clean. The all white look complemented Florida State's colors really well, I thought. And the trophy room, there definitely needs to be some additions in there, but the way it's set up, it looked really nice. And the lockers themselves, where the players are, they need to be a little bit better on the fine details. I was watching Jakai Douglas's Instagram live, and he was pointing at his locker, and he was like, "What is this?" They had him listed at running back. He's like, he was shouting across the room, I'm a receiver now. So they're going to have to get that switched up. But it was a good unveiling. And
it kind of fits the, I guess, not theme, but the direction that a lot of these schools are moving to. And that is, a lot of bright, lots of colors, lots of
LEDs,
clean,
lighting,
LED, real sharp stuff. So I like it.
Dude, if there's ever time for a white helmet, this would be the time.
Yeah, I'm waiting on my source to give me the green light to say, all right, they're coming. But they did put an order in for it last year, but like I said, that warehouse like went up in flames or something, so that ruined that. But my favorite detail, dude, I love this side paneling right here. Just the extra detailing on here. That's on that spear. That's badass. I like that a lot.
You saw they've got the compartment for the pads. You can open up the back of the seat, store some valuables. The bottom of the seat, you can store stuff. They've got some charging ports. Really, really nice little setup. And I'm sure those chairs are comfortable too.
Those poor,
I hope they can get a tour and just go sit down.
Just sit down. Of course, that's what you want to do. You just want to sit down.
I feel bad for those equipment guys that clean that stuff up after.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the cleaning people having to clean those walls. Those walls are gonna get dirty fast.
Yeah, but it's nice, man. It's very modern in what everyone's doing. So,
Yep.
I didn't like how they had the crystal ball just out in the open. Guys were just walking over and picking up the crystal ball, and I forget who I was watching there live. He was like, "This is worth $1 million." And
that was Mike Fuller. I think that was Krishawn Fuller. I think it was.
It was Fuller or a DB or something. Maybe it was Kevin Knowles. I don't know.
I know. It's like the extra details up here. You got your LEDs, but then you got like the different kind of design. I don't know. I'm not in architecture, whatever the heck that's called, but I like it.
That Renegade, it's clean.
Yeah, the Renegade there, and then having all these here, the rings from the years. But yeah, I think my favorite part, I didn't know that. These spears on the side. I love that new FSU spear. The new FSU spear is clean. But yeah, you can see a lot of current nose from
you can see RB right there. You can see it.
Yeah.
And then you got Micah Pittman, commenting that it's better than Oregon's.
Yeah, where did he comment that at? Was it on a YouTube video or something?
It was somewhere he said it. I don't know if he was,
I saw a tweet.
But that was interesting. Maybe it was just the excitement of something new, but
That's funny. Orange Bowl tweeted on here. The trophy's looking nice. The eyeballs emoji. 2013 national champion Freddie Stevenson here with the fire emojis. You got Levante Taylor in here. Hey, you got the real Lotra. I don't know if it's the real Lotra over Timmy Jernigan. But you got Naquan Murray in here showing some love to the new digs. You also have Marvin Wilson. Of course, Duffy's loving it. Cam Akers up there in the comments. But yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any more photos. We need more. We need the media. Come on, FSU. Let the media get in there. I don't want to be, selfish or anything, but I'm just trying to get some more pictures and videos for the listeners here. So,
I won't take a crystal ball. Just a nice little tour.
No, I might touch it, but that's about it.
Might touch it.
Yeah, there's someone asked, was the lighting in there? It looks bright. Looks like you stay awake. I don't think you could close your eyes really too much and fall asleep in there. Maybe that's the whole key of it. That's probably what Mike Norvell wanted, to be honest, because he is kind of crazy. I don't know if Mike Norvell ever does sleep, but
I will say, and Dustin and I were kind of joking about this when we were there for the first practice. They were outside picking up micro trash outside of the Moore Center before recruits got there, and it's the details, stuff like that Norvell, you can tell, is very particular about. So
Yeah.
when you have your general manager, whatever you want to call him, out there, picking up trash, making sure there's nothing, curb appeal for these recruits to walk up to, tells you how detailed he is.
Yeah, it's the little things, man, and that's something that whenever Mike Norvell came to Tallahassee, that's something that he wanted to make it a big emphasis on, is respecting the tradition at Florida State and how things should be ran here. And everything should be excellent at all times and top tier, and definitely for visits, for recruits coming in. You see that they kill it at these visits. They do a very good job. You're seeing high profile targets that put Florida State in those top lists. Some that you're not landing, but some that you never would think that they would be, Florida State would be that high up. They're putting themselves at number 2, number 3. They kill it in visits. They're doing a good job, making developments in the locker room. Obviously here, they're trying to get the football only facility going. There's all different kinds of things that Florida State is trying to do, not just for the future, but like Mike Norvell said in an interview on Tuesday about the players now, Jared Verse, Sean Fuller, Jordan Travis, these players that are currently on the roster, taking care of them too. It's always nice to look at the future and take care of things then and plan ahead. But what about the players that are putting in the work now to build the new culture? And, Mike Norvell's doing a great job with that. And it seems to be he's tag teaming with Michael Alford, Florida State's new athletic director. And, since his arrival, things have been kicking. And now with him being promoted to AD, he's still very hands-on with boosters and other curricular things outside of, athletic department stuff. They're making moves, and it's very much needed. The reaction from these players was awesome. I don't think any fan should do any kind of complaining about these lockers. I saw too much complaining. Oh, it's too wide. Oh, the lockers are too tight.
What else do you
mother
expect?
F.
Yeah,
Can't
be happy about anything.
I was about to say, you're gonna try to fit into a locker. If Steven Dix can fit into it, you can fit into it.
And like you said, Logan, this is just the beginning. So imagine what it's going to look like in a couple of years when they continue to make progress on these developments, including the football only facility and all the other stuff that's going to come with it. They're really making a big investment into like you said, the now and the future of this football program.
There you go. There's Fuller.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous?
It made me a little nervous. He's like, I heard this is worth $1 million. It's like, don't knock it over.
Might be worth more than that.
I would be nervous if I was standing in front of something that was worth $1 million and I could just sit there and, accidentally fall and break it or something.
Yeah. No. I think I'd be a little nervous too.
Check my shoelaces.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to make sure if we do actually get a visit in there, which I hope we do. Hopefully media will be able to get in there and after spring and take some photos and give y'all a real thoughts on it. But yeah, those locker rooms are really, really nice. So shout out to the program there and the design team.
I would say the lights really pop with that black in that ceiling too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that design team killed it on that.
Great start, and I feel like it's only going to help now that the football staff and the athletic administration are all on the same page, top to bottom.
Yeah. And you saw we can kind of jump this into a little bit of recruiting too before we get to basketball. But, we saw reactions from Chris Parson. You got to see a reaction from Santana Fleming along others. But it seemed like the recruits really enjoyed the new. We put out a piece too of some of the top recruits reacting to those locker rooms. They liked him. Definitely Chris Parson. He shared it, I think, on all of his socials. But really liked the new digs that he'll be able to check out whenever he comes for spring game weekend and whenever he's a future Seminole.
Yeah, I've only seen positive reactions really to Florida State's locker room, except I guess from the fan base. But at least the recruits and the guys that are actually going to be using it one day, they seem to like it. So I'll take their opinion.
Do y'all want to anything recruiting wise really worth mentioning?
Just that there's always people on campus every
Too many now.
day.
Spring game's coming up. That's the next big thing. So we'll see. It's just like Dustin said, it's an everyday thing. They got guys. Not every kid that visits is a take. It's a process. It's evaluating, getting guys on campus. Building relationships. So, there's a lot of activity there. I think they're one of the most active staffs right now when it comes to recruiting. So,
yeah, they've had guys practically at every single spring practice during the week. On Saturdays and Sundays, they're having tons of unofficial visitors roll in, whether it's players and their parents or a whole bus of recruits. We've seen that consistently throughout the month of March. Each weekend, there's a ton of guys on campus. That's going to continue this weekend as well. I believe there's going to be some recruits coming up to actually watch the spring scrimmages close to the media. So I'm going to be hitting those guys up to get some nuggets.
Some nugs, baby, with some sauce too. Hopefully, I want some.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I want sauce with them nugs, please. Yeah, there was on Tuesday. I was texting y'all. I was like, this was more recruits than I think I've ever seen. It was unbelievable bus loads just heading into the practice field. So, Mike Norvell, and he mentioned that. Mike Norvell talked about it on Tuesday. He said, I want to get these practices ran later in the afternoon, so this allows some of the high schoolers to be able to travel with their coaches over to Doak and be there in time after school classes are over and yada, yada, yada. So, this is Mike Norvell. This is his master plan. And, we'll see if it ends up working in the recruiting realm of things. There's a question here about stadium upgrades. This is something also Michael Alford has been working on for over a year now, trying to get some of the club levels situated. You're seeing now beverages, at least with alcohol now being introduced, now being allowed for selling inside stadiums to where you can bring it to your stands. That's helped a lot. You saw, I think, in one of Alford's reports, he saw, a lot of increase in revenue with that and network. And I mean, it's Tallahassee. Florida State fans like to drink. So, that wasn't a shocker there, but, it's sad that he had to come in and say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to make a lot of money. So, there's some things that Florida State needed to do, and Alfred's coming in to do this, but there is stadium upgrades in the works. By far, I wish maybe we'll be able to get Alfred on here after spring. And so can go through some of these projects that he's working on. I'm sure he'd love to come on here and give us some actual good intel on it. But
I will say that Gonzaga does not deserve a number one seed ever again.
Tough. They lost on. They blew it. They must have blew it.
No, there's seconds left, and they're down by 7. They can still do it.
There's a question here from Timmy asks about where does the impact of Ray, General Manager Derek Ray, come in as for recruiting or on the team. This is, to me, kind of a mix of both. We talked with him and to the kickoff lunch, and he talked about his biggest emphasis right now is in the transfer portal and making sure that the team, the coaches have a list of guys that they want or that are targeting that they can keep up to date with and figure out visit situations, which guys have entered. He said that he's continuously refreshing the phone. He said that he had somebody in the offices while he was at that luncheon just continuously refreshing the transfer portal. So that's been a big emphasis for him. But, he's taken on a whole lot of other things. And some things I probably don't even know what the flying F he's doing, honestly. And I think that's kind of his role. And, he's spaced on a lot of different areas. And it's wherever Mike Norvell thinks he fits best. And you see that with a lot of these new off-field hires. But at least from what, the interview I took away from, his big emphasis right now is a transfer portal and taking care of things there. But like you had mentioned, Nate, he's helping clean out, making sure that things look pretty whenever recruits are coming in town. And, that's what Norvell wants. He wants a lot of these support staff people to be, if you're going to be hired, you're going to have to be coming here to work. Things got to be clicking. Yeah.
Every top flight program has these kind of guys. So, whether it's right or wrong, the Bamas, the Georgias, Ohio States, they have a ton of support staff. one, it allows the coaches to really focus on what they got to focus on, but also too, it's a lot of brains, man. It's a lot of different experiences, a lot of different ideas that help you, grow your program. So, this guy can run the day-to-day operation stuff that allows Norval to not have to pull away from, the important stuff, so to speak.
Like you said, Logan, I think he's really going to be involved in multiple areas. You mentioned the scouting aspect and looking at players in the transfer portal, but also player management with current guys on the roster, building relationships with them and making sure they're comfortable within the program. And, outside of picking up trash, he's been pretty involved in Florida State's recruiting efforts outside the more coming out, welcoming prospects and their families to campus. Just being out there involved, talking to guys, engaged, and just from everything I've seen so far, really impressive individual. And not only that, onto the recruiting trail, I've noticed guys from the West Coast that are getting offers, they're mentioning him a lot. So it seems like he's being directly involved in putting out some offers for Florida State, which is big as well. So Ray is going to have a pretty significant impact on Florida State's program moving forward.
Yeah. And like I said, we probably don't know 90% of what that flying F he's doing.
Probably
but
not.
As long as it's working, we'll see. If it works into on the field, we'll see. But it was a good conversation to have with him at the kickoff lunch, and I'm glad Coach Norvell, wanted him to come there to kind of, tell us, to the media, really what his role was like, which I still didn't really fully figure out. But hey, I'm wishing him the best of luck. He's at every practice. So let's see. Anything else? I don't think there's anything else really football. Gene Deckerhoff, I definitely do want to mention that. I was gone whenever that announcement was made. What do you say, D-Lou? Or Nate, the GOAT?
I said that sucks, man.
Yeah. That does suck. It does. It does sting. But yeah, he announced his retirement. It will be the spring game. That will be his last call. I thought he'd do a one more run. I don't know if he announce too his retirement from the Bucks, also calling games there for this upcoming season, or is it just strictly Florida State? Do we know that yet?
I'm not totally sure. Based on what I was reading, it seemed like he was doing one more year with the Bucks, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay, gotcha. But
hopefully it's not health related. No, hopefully something didn't pop up.
No, I saw him at practice on Tuesday, and he was all talking. That guy can talk. I think he says hey to every single person he walks by, no matter if you're man, woman, 6-year-old, 2-year-old. I mean, it's hard for him to even leave practices. I just watched him while we were up in the Dick Hauser watching practice, and I think he said hi to every single person while he's leaving the practice field. So definitely can still talk, that's for sure. But
not bad for a Gator.
Just a lot of travel. I bet
that is a lot,
especially
of
at that age.
Yeah, but he's in his upper 70s now. And yeah, dude, Florida State football, Florida State basketball, and the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's a lot of travel, a lot of talking. Which obviously he can talk with the best of them, but that's a lot for someone that's upper 70s.
Yeah, no, much respect.
Would have loved to get one more big time game. One more big time bowl game out of him. He's fun to listen to during the big games, man.
He has some crazy, wild reactions. Just he's a legend, and so he'll be having his last call for Florida State on the spring game. So definitely we'll be looking for some big time promos and recognition for that on that day while we are there in attendance. But yes. Shout out to the GOAT, Gene Deckerhoff. Has always been very nice to us and treated us right. So wishing him the best and congratulations on what may be retirement. We'll see if he's still going to kick it and go with the Bucks. He might, with Brady coming back, he might have said, "Oh, I might stay for another year." Screw it. So might have one more run there with the Bucks. We'll see. Let's finish it off with some basketball scoopage. VZ, you have a couple things recruiting wise. I know we also had a transfer happen, and then you also got to kick it with Trent Forrest a little bit, which I think you should talk a little bit about. But yeah, what do you want to start off with? Ballard entering the transfer portal, maybe?
Yeah, I guess we can start with that. Quincy Ballard, the fourth string center, if you want to call him that way, entered the transfer portal on Monday. I think anyone that followed the team at all this season was not surprised. I think I tweeted, over a month ago that I didn't expect him on next year's team. He just didn't play. And a guy that's in his second year in the program usually start getting a little bit of playing time. He played, I think it was 85 total minutes this season. And that's in a year where Tenor Ingam, Malik Osborne, and Naheem McLeod missed something like 34 combined games. And they're relying on walk-on Harrison Prieto to play 18, 20 minutes per game. Like, at that point, writing's on the wall. Let him go somewhere else and use that scholarship on someone that can actually play. They've already started exploring some options. They have Brown transferred Jalen Gainey coming in on a visit tomorrow. He's Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year 2 times in a row. Great shot blocker, a little bit undersized at 6'9", but he gives great mobility down low. Not much offensively, but they've already gone and visited him as a staff, and now he's coming to campus tomorrow. So I expect something. I'm not expecting him to commit, but I'm expecting at least some news tomorrow about how that visit's going. And then there's so many guys that have entered the portal that Florida State's been involved with, whether it's Alex Chiku at Alabama, Josh Minot at Memphis, and then you have Julian Phillips, obviously is a big one, decommitting from LSU, who we covered that recruitment pretty heavily in what was it, October, late September. I mean, we were all over that recruitment. It was thought to be FSU up until literally the last hour, and he picks LSU. Now with him decommitting, does Florida State try and kick the tires again, get him down to Tallahassee? He's a very talented prospect. I mean, he raised the ceiling of this team tremendously next season. But it's also
sorry, go ahead. But I do have a question for you.
It's one of those. Do they really want a 7th freshman for next year's team? It's already going to be a really, really young team, which I'll talk about in some articles coming up. But it's a young team. Do they really want 7 true freshmen on next year's team? It's something that I don't know. But granted, Phillips is as talented as they come.
Yeah, with Phillips, so he enters a transfer portal, and like you said, Florida State was very tight. There was no mess up with the relationship there with Florida State, right? That was still, they were very close with landing him, and they just ended up picking LSU, where if they were to kick the tires, and it wouldn't be, it'd be like, hey, we're still here kind of thing.
It was more of a bag alert scenario.
Yeah, it was one of those with LSU. I mean, Will Wade's never played fair.
That's why he's gone.
Yeah, that's why he's not like at LSU. That's why Phillips isn't going to LSU. The family surrounding Julian Phillips really wanted him to go to Florida State. I believe his high school coach really wanted him to go to Florida State. It's one of those where the people around him really, really were pushing him for FSU, and he just decided against it. And I'm sure Coach Smith still has a great relationship with him and that family, because Smith's a South Carolina guy, that Phillips is from the Columbia, South Carolina area. I'm sure they still have a great working relationship. And I don't want to get my hopes up, but it kind of seems like it's going to be FSU or Auburn. We'll see how it comes down. I know he's not expected to really think about it until after the McDonald's All-American game, which I think is next weekend.
I don't know.
I put it in an article. I forget what
I got
it is.
you. I'm looking for you.
I know it's
in
a
a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
In a heartbeat, man.
You put him on the wing with Matthew Cleveland, and that's
it's
a scary wing combination with those two.
Yeah, that's next week, by the way, VZ.
I think if he wants in, you take him no matter what, because you don't have a freshman committed right now that's as talented as him, and your best freshman that you do have committed, Deontay Green, he's got a torn ACL, and he's probably going to miss the majority, if not all, of next year anyway. So you need a freshman that can come in and that has the talent to instantly impact this roster.
I mean, I really like Chandler Jackson, who I think is a top 75, top 80 guy. But yeah, there's nowhere near the caliber of player that Phillips is. If you can find a way to get him on the roster, you do it. They got to get some scholarships figured out, because right now you've only got one open spot with Ballard leaving. Does someone enter the NBA draft that we don't expect? Does someone transfer that we don't expect? Does someone like Deontay Green gray shirt with his torn ACL and they push his entry to campus back a year? I mean, there's things they can do. I just don't know if they'll actually do it. But this team needs a talent influx. They really do. I talked about it a little bit in my season grade analysis or season report card article that y'all published today. And there's a lot about that. I talked about guys that they're thinking about the NBA, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So
I published that, by the way.
Thank you. I was going to send a reminder about it in the afternoon, and I saw it on Twitter. I was like, okay, cool.
Me and Dustin fight for to stay on the good side of easy.
I mean, there's only really one guy who should test the waters. That's John Butler. You know,
it's one of those.
I think that's a reach.
He's one of those. I've talked to one of my scout friends. Like he's got the biggest potential of anyone on the team, but he has to add weight. He has to get stronger. He has to improve his consistency, like game to game. Because there's games like Notre Dame where he's got 18 points, 4 blocks, like just dominating both ends of the floor. And then he had plenty of other games where he has 3 points on 8 shots. He's getting pushed around everywhere. He's really got to build up his frame a little bit, get to maybe 210, 215 weight wise, because he's still at 190. It's very light for someone his size.
I agree with that. That's the biggest knock on his game right now is just him continuing to add size and muscle as well as staying healthy. Because I think you've said it a lot, but he dealt with an ankle injury throughout the majority of conference play that really hindered him. Yeah,
he for most of the conference play, anytime he wasn't playing, he was in a walking boot, which that's tough. For any player, much less a true freshman that weighs 190 pounds at 7'1". Got to stay healthy, got to get stronger. Which, Coach Bradley with the strength and training program at Florida State, he does a great job of getting those guys built. There's a reason Malik Osborne's as big as he is now, and that Chris Kamaji gained 60 pounds over the course of his career. If anyone can do it, it's Coach Bradley.
Mm-hmm. Man, I could dunk on Nate Greer so easily. It could be so easy. I'm just now thinking about that. Like, just poster, just right over his neck, that big neck, just right over it.
On a 10-foot goal or like an 8-foot goal?
Yeah. Nate shared that video of
that was really funny.
Yeah, that would be Dustin.
Nate does this once a week where he'll go, "Hey, did you guys see Dustin do this?"
It's such a dad. It's a dad thing to do. He doesn't have a son, so he's got to be.
It is like a once a week thing at like a random time, and I just look at my phone. And I'm like,
"What was the one
Dustin's getting
last
bullied.
week?"
Going back to work.
The one last week was hilarious. I forget what video it was.
I didn't get to see that one. I didn't get to see it.
I completely forget.
The one last week was better than this one. I agree. But I can't remember it. Like the detail.
Tough. Just keep it up, Nate. Keep it up.
There's too many messages to scroll back to.
Yeah.
Logan,
yeah.
Never in your life would you dunk on me. 1, you don't have the ups for it. 2, I'd foul the shit out of you.
Yeah, you probably just throw me.
I'd completely Billy and Beer your ass. Nah.
Let me get a few shots and I'm good to go. We'll be ready to rock. You said so. You were with Trent Forrest though today.
Yeah.
You got to meet up with Tallahassee legend.
Yeah, the mayor of Tallahassee himself.
The mayor of Tallahassee.
Yeah. Today's my day off, and of course, I'm laying around. I'm having people hit me up all day. I'm like, of course, it's my day off. People actually hit me up. But at 4:00, he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, we just landed at the shop. I want to come check it out." I'm like, "No, but I could be there." So shower real quick, run up there. And it was good to catch up. I haven't talked to him in a year or so.
Yeah,
because they're
how much
playing
money did he spend on shoes? That's what we want to know.
That's
private.
Yeah,
but
private.
a good, decent.
Yeah,
decent.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What can you say? What shoes he got?
How many pairs did he buy?
He bought 2 for himself and 1 for somebody else.
Oh, nice. I didn't get mine, so I still haven't got mine.
Neither is Nate.
Good. It was good to catch up, see how he's doing.
What did he buy? What did he buy? Because I know there's some
2 pairs of dunks. For anybody that knows, he just bought those purple and white dunks that just came out, and then there's another pair called the Curry dunks that only came out overseas. He got those, and then he got the Fragment collaboration with Nike on the Jakai waffle. He got the all gray pair of those.
On the what waffle?
Jakai. Jakai is its own kind of brand.
You got to know, like all these days compared to what Dustin wears, he has zero clue what's being said.
Yeah, so we got these. These just came out
let me go grab my tennis shoes. It's kind of an embarrassment.
I don't even know what would you call Dustin's shoes, Austin, please?
How did you guys get the overseas Curry shoe?
What are they called?
We can get anything. They're called a medium Curry.
Yeah, great.
Oh, it's not Steph Curry shoes, though.
Are these?
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, these are pretty cool.
Yeah,
There's
those
no
are
way in
really,
hell
really
I
nice.
could rock those. There's no way in hell I could rock
Really,
those.
really nice.
Yeah.
We've only touched 2 pairs, and he got one of them.
Which
Those
one?
are
What are the other
probably
ones you got?
Pretty pricey.
Sakai, Sacai. Fragment. Gray.
Waffle gray. I see it.
Oh wow! Look at what the. What in the world are these?
They're comfortable. He got those
What
for somebody
the-
else. Yeah, he got those for somebody else.
They're a mix of New Balance. Look at the double swoosh. They almost like old New Balance kind of
Everything's
vibes.
double. So like the outsole's double, the swooshes are double, the laces are yellow, the ton's double.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
those are pretty dope though. How much? What do those range around? You don't have to give us a price that you gave him. But what do those range?
500s.
Get me out. Get me out.
Yeah.
Get me out. Get me out. Get me out. Get me out.
It was great catching up with him because me and him were really close in college.
Yeah,
The podcast we did with him was one of my favorites we've ever done.
I'd love to have him back on.
Just a really cool dude, really laid back. Great to catch up with him. I'll see him tomorrow night as well at the game. Because they're playing the Hornets tomorrow night.
Flex.
Odd flex.
Yeah, that's a
Still gonna
flex.
see him tomorrow.
Dude,
Where are you sitting at? Are you sitting courtside?
I don't know. We'll find out when I walk in.
You know where you're sitting.
He's sitting
I
next to
don't.
MJ. He's sitting next to MJ.
I don't know where I'm sitting yet. I'm
That'd be
waiting
funny.
on one of my other basketball guys to send me the tickets.
Oh, the other guy. Jesus, man. Just sending tickets left and right, man. Damn. Hey, you deserve it, though, easy after a really rough basketball season. You know, you going downhill so Nate can have a good football season ahead of him. So
It's going to be an average football season. But we haven't even talked about the biggest basketball news, honestly. Coach
Yeah.
Gates. Hired
yeah,
by
Dennis
Missouri.
Gates, man. Congratulations.
Shout out Coach Gates. I had a conversation with Coach Jones
So-
yesterday about it. We were both excited for him.
So the question is, something happens and Hamilton steps down next year. You think that he leaves there after 1 year if he's a true option?
I don't know. It depends on what his contract looks like in Missouri because obviously SEC
Mhm.
money is different. But it's also Missouri, so it's not like your usual SEC.
Mm.
And he had a pretty cheap contract at Cleveland State, so I don't know how much of a raise they gave him because I think he was making like $300 a year at Cleveland State. I'm sure he's close if not over $1 million, but who knows? And I know Florida State's giving Ham, what is it, like 2.1, 3 million, something like that. So
I mean, he's got to be the next guy that everyone wants, right?
oh, for sure. I mean, you should have seen all the tweets after he got hired by Missouri from Florida State fans. Like, oh, I thought he was our guy next.
Still can be.
He still can be. And Ham still has technically, 3 more years on his contract, 4 more years. So, stars align, maybe something works out. But Coach Gates was always one of those guys that once he got a head coaching job, he was going to rise fast. We saw that. He was only at Cleveland State for 3 years. Got into an NCAA tournament for the first time since, 2007, 2008, something like that. Back-to-back league championships in the regular season. He was always going to succeed once he got that spot. It took him a little bit too long to get the job. Because I know at FSU he interviewed for numerous jobs, Marquette, Cal, just plenty of jobs he just didn't get. I knew his time would come, and I'm super happy for him, super happy for his family, and he's going to succeed at Missouri, even if the Missouri fans aren't exactly happy about it.
They can go eat a bag of flaming hot.
They were so upset for no reason.
Why?
No
They
reason.
live in Missouri, okay? Like they're upset about everything.
Because
What does Missouri expect to get?
there are some bigger names out there, but I don't think there's any better coaches and better men and better developers of men than Coach
You're
Gates.
a little biased, though, to be honest.
Still, I mean, Coach Gates is just one of those guys. When you spend time around him,
Yeah.
he's different.
I'm just
You
kidding.
get-
I
but you
definitely
have-
want
yeah,
him to
you
be Leonard Hamilton's successor whenever
Yeah,
that
you have-
time does come.
Yeah, you know him more than we do. So I listen to you, VZ, unlike some of these other people who think that I'm making up stuff at practices. You
You
know,
only listen to me on the podcast. That's about it.
that's about right. I don't read your text a lot.
I'll post on the group chat. Get left on
well,
red by
come on,
both
that's
Dustin and Logan for like 2 hours. Then have to put the question emphasis on it.
What do you mean? Does the group chat say when we read it?
No, but
Yeah,
I
he
know.
doesn't know, so
No,
he
I
could be
know.
ignoring you.
I'm
He
safe.
could just read it and
No, I know.
I just didn't see it.
Mhm.
Oh, now you didn't see it. You just backtracked on what you already just admitted.
Mhm.
What an a-hole.
Remember when they said like 3 weeks ago they were going to give me editing and
Yeah.
publishing?
That's on him. I can't do
Yeah,
that.
I'm ready whenever, but you got to stop going to these country concerts, all right?
I haven't
Figure it out.
gone in 3 weeks. I've been available.
I
You've been
can't
on
even
cruise
get
for an
on.
entire week.
I can't even get on this site to put my stuff on there.
Don't even get me
That
started.
is your fault.
Good, we'll do it when we get off
That
here.
is your
Perfect.
fault.
We'll get it started. All I need is an email, and we'll get you in. You'll be life-changing
Yeah,
for
man.
us.
Yeah, we'll talk after the podcast.
No, you'll leave. You'll leave.
Absolutely.
Fucking asshole. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. We'll have a spring scrimmage to kind of recap a little bit. We'll have interviews from after the practices, and maybe we'll have some scoopage there and some nugs to give you guys. And then Florida State's Pro Day is on Tuesday. We'll be in attendance for that. If I see Mike Tomlin, I'm telling him we're getting Malik Willis. But big days for Jermaine Johnson, Keir Thomas. Keir Thomas, I think, is going to have a big day for his pro day. Absolutely disrespectful what the NFL combine did to him and not inviting him there. So I hope Keir Thomas has a good one. Andrew Parchman, Devontae Love-Taylor, a lot of guys at practice, including Deshaun Corbin and Jordan Wilson, were here today getting prepared. Emmett Rice, too. So a lot of guys competing on Tuesday in front of some NFL scouts. So we'll be there in attendance for that. And then we'll be live on Thursday at 8:30. Still trying to figure out what the football practice schedule is going to be like next week. So it's probably going to be all over the place with Pro Day being on Tuesday. So we'll see. But I think that's going to wrap it up, everybody. Appreciate everyone on here. Thanks for welcoming us back after our break. If you haven't yet, if you're a Bucs fan, if you like Tampa, go check out our site, bucsgameday.com. Things are starting to bump over there. We've got a lot of content coming for you guys. So I know a lot of FSU fans here listen on to this and are also Bucs fans. So we're trying to bring a lot of content over there for y'all. So if you are a Bucs fan, at Bucs Game Day on Twitter and bucsgameday.com, powered by Sports Illustrated. So yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of y'all's week and weekend. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe, hit the follow button, along with Spotify and our friends over there at Google Play. Subscribe now. Comment. Appreciate everybody listening. The numbers have been crazy wild, so appreciate it. We got a big busy month ahead, so appreciate it. All right, y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.